Data from the Standard & Poor's Global Mobility, the average American car is growing older, now reaching a record 12 and a half years.
S&P said they expect the average to continue to get older until at least 2028.
Well, here to help us piece it all together, why people are holding on to their cars is Jeff Gilbert, automotive reporter for WWJ News Radio 950. Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Sure, thanks for having me.
So the initial thought is people are holding on to their cars because life now is just so expensive.
Right, life is expensive, cars are more expensive. If you recall, for the last year or so, it's been harder to get a vehicle because inventories have been very tight. So this has been growing for a while, but in the last year it actually grew by 3 months to the average vehicle being 12 and a half years old, and that's the biggest jump that we saw since the '09 recession.
It seems like there's been a domino effect here. You have the pandemic, there's a chip shortage, people are stuck at home, maybe going, okay, I don't need the car as much as I used to, and people spent so many dollars on their home, they're stuck at home, and now all of a sudden the car industry is maybe having a hard time keeping up. Is that
well, that is actually what we saw the last couple of years. I mean, it started with a pandemic where, everything shut down for a while, sales shut down, factories shut down, and then when the pandemic ended, there was this demand for vehicles, but they weren't there because of the chip shortage. So all of this cut into sales, which kind of impacts the statistics. But on the positive end of things, cars are lasting a lot longer. I mean, I like to tell people of my first car that rusted out after 6.5 years. That was way back in the 70s. Today, a 6.5-year-old car is still considered relatively new. You might not have even finished the payments yet after 6.5 years.
Yeah, maybe not, depending on what you got. Now, I've always heard that age-old debate that if you want a car that's going to last long, then you don't buy American.
Well, again, you really have to look at like J.D. Power ratings, Consumer Reports, things of that nature. You can't have a blanket statement that all American cars are not as good as all Japanese cars, etc. It varies by brands, it varies by make, it varies by model. There are a lot of really good American products out there, just like there are a lot of good imports.
What is the impact it's going to have here in Metro Detroit? I mean, you have 3 major car makers here. What's it going to do for the economy?
It's already had an impact. I mean, the fact that people keep their cars longer, and also the fact that cars are so expensive that it's taken a lot of people in the lower to middle class out of the new car market. They've gone into the used car market. Because again, when we say an average car is 12 and a half years old, that doesn't mean the first owner has owned it for 12 and a half years. There are people who are into new cars who lease or who buy a new car every 2 or 3 years, and there are a lot of other people, the majority of people, never buy a new car. On any given year, there are twice as many used car sales as there are new car sales.
Just recently, at the start of the year, actually, I finally got a new car. I went with a Chevrolet.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I was thinking at the time, I love it.
Great,
Chevrolet
great.
Blazer, I love it. They said, I was thinking about electric, and they told me the technology isn't where it's going to be in a relatively short amount of time, so it's better to wait.
And that's an interesting thing. I always tell people, if you're an early adopter, if you want something new, you want something cool, you want to be on the first on your block, then you're probably somebody who is interested in an EV. If you like something comfortable that's been developed, that you don't have to worry about where you're going to refuel it, you don't have to worry about the kind of things that come with being an early adopter, then you're probably not ready for it, because the gasoline engine's been around for 100 years.
Yeah.
It's been refined. I mean, I get to drive a lot of cars. I certainly have had a lot of adventures trying to fill up an electric vehicle when I was away from home. It's not easy yet, but if you're into something cutting edge, then maybe you're now the kind of person.
No, they were probably right. I think I'm going to go the easy route for a little while longer.
So the prices of cars have skyrocketed.
Yes.
They're more expensive, and you look at your options. What are your options if you need a new car? I mean, is it you better off leasing? You better off going with an older car? You better off doing what?
Yeah, all of that depends on your own individual situation. Of course, when we talk about car prices going up, there are 2 things at work. One, it's harder to find an economy car because car makers don't really make that many bottom-end cars. And second, there are so many people with higher incomes who are buying fully loaded vehicles. They want what they want, and they want everything, that skews the price. The bottom line is there aren't a ton of choices in the new car market for somebody who wants to buy something in the $20,000 to $25,000 range. There are some choices out there, but not a ton. So you may be better off with maybe a 2-3-year-old used car.
Coming out of a lease, perhaps.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeff Gilbert, for joining us, automotive reporter for WWJ News Radio. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.